Greetings. 20th the July 147th day of heroic resistance of Ukraine. I'm Natalia Staroprava. We start a series of briefings at the Media Center Ukraine. With us, we have Maksym Nefyodov, manager of reform support projects for the Kyiv School of Economics. Maksym, what can you tell us about the damage inflicted by Russia on Ukraine? Indeed, the Kyiv School of Economics, since the end of February, has been dealing with collecting, verifying, analyzing, evaluating, and verifying the losses sustained by Ukraine resulting from the Russian armed aggression. We have a threefold aim: the analysis and the operational information needed by the Ukrainian government, the businesses, and people about what's working and not in Ukraine. The second tier is about reconstruction and recovery, knowing the scale of damages, and knowing the needs, implementing the new principles of Euro integration that we are bound to implement as the EU member. Aspiring countries, we will be in a better position to present our position at international venues such as Lugano Recovery Conference. And the third is the legal pathway to claim damages of the Russian Federation, and this is called Russia Shall Pay. And to claim the damages, we need to have a very thorough documented analysis. As of the recent date, the overall scope of direct losses comprised $95.5 billion. And this is direct losses. This is the value of housing, stocks, machinery, vehicles, roads, bridges, hospitals that were damaged or ruined by the barbaric shelling and bombing of Russia. Maksym, which industries were hit the hardest in Ukraine? Well, it is perfectly consistent considering the assets in the country. So 38% of all the losses are attributed to the damages sustained by the housing, as the whole world has seen the Russians randomly, brutally shelling major cities like Mariupol, Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Sumy, Mykolaiv, and smaller towns and villages that often don't receive as much media attention but are often razed to the ground. And clearly, the overall value of the high rise buildings and the individual detached housing is major. The second category is the infrastructure, as Russia targets bridges, vehicles, some commercial assets, and the businesses have been hit very hard by the war. Often the warehouses have been burned down, the production facilities have been reduced to rubble, and we also have to account for the smaller businesses like the coffee shops, pharmacies, etc., that have also sustained damage. The International Tribunal is hopefully coming up soon. How can this data be used to make Russia pay for its atrocity crimes? Well, firstly, the legal claims on Russia will fall into three key prongs. The first, often discussed and visualized by the people, is the International Criminal Court, the equivalent of The Hague. It's going to be a criminal prosecution of the supervisors, politicians, and the line servicemen who either destroyed or ordered to destroy the housing, the civilians, and civilian infrastructure. This is a violation of customs and laws of war. This is a separate vector that is overseen by the Office of General Prosecutor and the International Criminal Court, which has a presence in Ukraine. But this is a separate criminal prosecution of individual Russians. The second prong is about the claims filed by Ukrainians about the violations of human rights. And this is not just about the injuries or death, but also a matter of other violations like the forcible deportation, as almost 2 million Ukrainians have been forcibly deported into Russia, and some children and elderly have been discarded in the remote parts of Russia without documents or any means of subsistence. And the third prong are the substantive claims. This is the damage sustained by the state, communal, um, commercial, private property. These claims will be heard by commercial courts in the countries which hold most assets belonging to the Russia, like the US, the EU, Germany in particular, France, Switzerland, the UK, and other countries. Let me remind you that 100 million such assets have been seized and frozen, have come under sanctions, but haven't been forfeited yet. So we have to walk the path, prove it in courts of law. First, we have to secure the assets seized and then prove the damages and collect them in Ukraine's interest. This is going to take time. We have to be realistic. A similar case when Iraq paid for the damages inflicted by the attack of Saddam Hussein on Kuwait, which happened in 1891. Iraq stopped paying uh, only last year, so that is 30 years since. We're interested in walking this path much, much sooner. And one of the ways to expedite the process is to have a better um, digital estimate of the losses, have it verified by the satellite data and aerial unmanned vehicle data, as well as all the documents collected on the site. Sometimes notary translations have to be done. All that would take years, but the modern advanced technologies can really expedite a lot of it, and this is what we're aiming for within the project Russia Will Pay. How are you bringing in the foreign investments and other foreign investors ready to invest in Ukraine? Well, before we win this war, we need to talk about two types of assistance rather than investments that are now channeled to Ukraine. First is crisis assistance. This is most relevant now, as regardless of the recovery projects, we need to rebuild the roads, the bridges as fast as we can. People who've been following the battle for Kyiv know that there is a bridge ruined in Irpin and Stoenka, which have become the roads of life and are now critically needed to supply um, the produce to these regions, to supply the foodstuffs and all the other essentials. The same pertains to the heating restoration in Ochtyrka or Chernihiv. So this is emergency grant assistance that needs to be given as fast as possible, and we are arranging it with our partners. The second is about recovery, and this is what the conference in Luhansk was all about, where the Kyiv School of Economics presented the information, the major report about the damages and the needs. The thing is, we shouldn't wait until we win the war, but build a bank or a pool of projects and have them prepared so that the day after our victory, the money can arrive and heavy machinery can head to the site, and the process of control and monitoring will all be put in place. And that takes time, that takes intellectual input, and we hope to help the Ukrainian government do it as soon as possible and the best way we can. We talked to Maksym Nefyodov, manager of reform support projects of the Kyiv School of Economics. We'll soon talk to the spokesperson of Odessa Oblast Military Administration, Serhiy Bratchuk.